Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the January meeting of the Compliance and Compliance meeting, January the 20th, 2025. So, first of all, any apologies?
Yes, Chair, we've got apologies from Sarah Keaton and Phil Keaton.
Okay, thanks very much. Any declarations of interest, anybody?
Personal interest, because I can see that the Cardiff grant application is back on the list.
Okay.
I've occasionally dipped with this lady.
There we are, no problems. Will you note that, please, Ian?
Yes.
Okay, to approve the minutes of the last meeting, which was November, is anything arising on there that people aren't happy with, or can we just go straight to the vote?
Okay.
Yeah, there we are. Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, any outstanding actions from the previous minutes?
Yes, Chair, I'll run through them. We've got two being deferred, two have been completed as per the updated sheet. There's two outstanding, both relate to the RFO, and Paul sent me the update.
Right.
The first one is number 5, which relates to the RFO obtaining quotes from the Gower Electric Company in relation to tariffs. Paul's been in touch with Alan, who doesn't currently have the capacity to look at this, but he's referred him to Mandy Williams.
Who's Alan and who's Mandy Williams?
Alan Thomas.
Alan Thomas, thank you.
Waiter.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. This is to do with the evaluation, isn't it? I mean, I bet that's probably. I beg your pardon. But the email's the wrong way around. In relation to the electricity quote, Paul's been in touch with Gower Electricity, and is provided with the information he requires. He's waiting for further information to come back, and he'll update us in the February.
Right.
And if I can go now to the evaluation, which relates to the RFO seeking an evaluation from Alan Thomas. Alan currently doesn't have the capacity to deal with this, and he suggested a colleague of his, Mandy Williams, and that information has been passed, and again he's waiting for some further information to be received, and he'll provide an update in the February.
Okay, thanks, Ian.
And that's all there is for the actions.
Can you just go over for the clarity of the meeting the 2 points which are
Sure, of course. Number 20, which is to submit a budget proposal form. This is from Carrie Townsend Jones in relation to increasing the grant budget to £40,000. And this was subject of an agenda item at the last committee on the 18th. Another one is number 21, and this is for Sarah Keaton, Councillor Keaton, to liaise with Councillors O'Connor, or just with Councillor O'Connor actually, over holding a Halloween event in West Cross. This was discussed and being reallocated to the Culture Committee.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you for that.
Sorry, I have my hand up.
Sorry, okay.
Obviously, the evaluation, Alan Thomas is now saying that he doesn't have the capacity to do it. But what happened to last year's report?
I don't
He was
believe that.
supposed to have met with all of the committee chairs and presumably the chair for the evaluation. And did that ever happen?
Not as far as I know. I can't remember meeting with him.
I think we need some clarification. I think we need some clarification from Alan exactly what's going on here, because I don't think it's at all clear. And why is Mandy coming in at this late stage?
Yeah, I mean, my concern is we're now about 3 or 4 years behind with evaluations, and we don't seem to be making any progress.
Yeah. So I work directly with Alan myself. I know Mandy. She's worked in evaluation. She's well known in the field. But I'll see if I can have a word directly with Alan and try to find out what's going on.
Okay, thanks for that, Bart. Okay, so next thing is the budget monitoring reports. Have you all had a look through them? Is there anything anybody wants to flag up, or has anybody flagged up anything with Paul, Ian?
I've had no notifications, Chair.
Okay then, so we'll go to a vote on that then. So all those in favour of accepting them?
I'm sorry, Mr. Darren, trying to sort
That's
it.
all right, no worries.
Sorry.
No worries.
I understand.
I know. Okay, the next thing is this Sunshine Lotus Yoga Grant application for £5,000 to support yoga within the community through Yoga for Health. So, Diane, do you want to take us through the grants application for this?
We had this application back in November, and I was waiting basically for everything to come through for them.
Yeah.
And then the info wasn't received until December. I've double checked it all. They're asking for a grant of £5,000.
Yeah.
The score it's had is 9 out of 14,
Right.
and they're not requesting funds from anywhere else.
So is this a setup, a new setup? Right.
It's considering it's on the same lines as before, with exactly the same setup with the group, etc.
Hmm.
It's just a completely new application for the same amount we had last time.
Right. Okay, so
We had a scoring system for.
yeah. So Kerry and Diane go through the grant applications and score each section, and I think it's out of 15, isn't it?
That's 14.
Out of 14.
We have to get 8 and above to sort of qualify to come through.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
A question really for Diane. How much are they contributing to this? They're not contributing anything, right? Where do they normally get their funding from?
Well,
Do-
I don't, I'm sorry. I don't know where I've had it from before.
Okay.
They've applied to us twice now.
Ah.
This is the second time, so for the same amount.
Where do they hold the classes? Here? Right.
No, they're held at the Linden Centre.
Thank you.
Right, okay.
And I can answer that question because the grant was refused last year.
Yes, remember it well.
Councillors Sarah Keaton and Rebecca Fogarty used their city council budget to cover the costs for last year.
Yeah.
Okay. I think sorry, Pam, yes, you.
When they lost points. You said 9 out of 14, so where did the other 5 go?
Well, it was
What
basically, it was control structures within the organisation.
does that mean?
It didn't score high because I don't know with regards to their insurance arrangements, what they've got in place, etc. And
Is that something we ask for?
not really, no, but I mean,
I'm just asking that because I don't understand it.
no, it's fine, that's fine.
So they surely wouldn't run this about insurance.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so, but there's a lot of things that they've let us down on.
So when you don't know about insurance, is that itemised on the form that they send out?
No, it's not itemised on the form, but I'm presuming they must have insurance. But from what I can see here, it's just a fact of, well, let me have another look. The violence I looked at that. Bear with me a minute.
Okay, while Diane's looking at that, the thing this flags up to me is we do ask people applying for grants to try and put 50% of what they're asking for towards it, up to 50%, but they're not putting anything towards it. So that's the thing that puts a bit of a red flag to me. I mean, is there anything else anybody else wants to come in with on this?
Is the fact that we would prefer, we want them to say that they're contributing up to 50%. Is that on the documentation that we send out?
That's in the standing orders of people applying for
But
grants.
is that communicated to the
form.
applicant?
It
It is in the form.
It's in the form, isn't it, that people are expected to have a contribution towards.
Yeah, some form of contribution from
Yeah,
somewhere
it's
else.
been
Yeah.
forever and a day.
That's what I mean.
It's not as really-
Just to be.
Well, there's nothing new.
Yeah.
As you said, insurance wasn't included on the documentation we sent out, I just wondered.
How many, for this 5,000, how many classes are they going to do for that?
Another week.
It runs every week.
Yeah,
Every week.
Yeah, and they say that there's going to be, they attract up to 50 people. Not obviously not everyone comes every week, because the majority are people with mental health needs, physical needs. They're not always able to attend every class, but over the year she has around 50 people attending classes, many of whom are recommended through their GPs to attend.
I mean, obviously, I don't want to turn something down, and I don't want to recommend to turn something down. I would suggest, because of the Bouncing School Council, I don't know.
They funded from last year, this is
Oh,
what they were saying.
From
Charge the clients who come in.
Perhaps what we should do is go back to them and say, if we allocated 50% of the funds from Mumbles Community Council, would they be able to find the other 50% from elsewhere? I know they don't charge anybody who comes, because the people that they have in the classes are not in a position to pay.
yeah, it says here free.
Okay.
Well, maybe we can write back to them and see if they can find contributions towards, and ask about their insurance and anything basically that they have come low on.
Mark them down on, we
We need to ask the questions back to them.
So if they then say that we're applying for grants from somebody else, would that mean then that they're not eligible for a grant from us?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, because a lot of people apply for grants through various.
That's okay. I'm just sorting my head out.
Yeah.
This sort of thing is because of the fact that it's not provided by social services or the health service.
No, it's not. There's absolutely nothing of this sort provided by social services or the health service.
So they are fulfilling the need then, because
That's what you just said.
Absolutely.
That's what you just said.
Yeah, thank you for that.
It's not provided by.
Right, sorry, the sound is very poor trying to hear from here.
caustic comments are being passed all the time. It isn't very pleasant. I'm not saying you were. I don't like the atmosphere that it's causing in this room.
Well,
Let's all calm down.
you've been raising issues on everything. It's nothing new.
I've been asked.
Let's look. Thank you, everybody. Let's just calm down. And so we're going to write back to them and find out about applying elsewhere as well, and or raising some money towards this.
And when they're going to phone the clerk or phone Diane and ask for advice on where they're going wrong. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, Di, if we can ask them questions based on everything they've been marked down on,
Yes.
that would be helpful for us all, I think.
Say they lost marks in this case, and can they have to fill in the gap?
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough thing to do.
Yeah, that's fair enough, yeah.
We would do that for anybody though, wouldn't we?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
the whole sort of thing, we're keen to fund what we can.
Yes.
At the same time, we have got certain criteria.
Hmm.
We want to, and the whole sort of thing, exactly this thing about, we like to fund things that's get in front of.
So that came up for me when this Diane said they were marked down because she didn't know if they had insurance. They hadn't been asked to put that information
Well,
forward.
obviously, that's very important, but
Yes.
it does sort of think the point to go back to them and say to them, well, look, if maybe we could put up 50% of the funding, could you find funding elsewhere? Because, that's a positive way forward, isn't it?
To make that goes out and then we flag something up as well.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just another question before we move on. What do we have left available?
It's about that. It's around about the 10 mark or under, I think. So, I mean, what it means realistically is that all the grants on this form today, we can't fund everything anyway because we just don't have the money.
All the grants on the form come to £20,591.78.
Thank God.
Yeah, thanks.
Very efficient.
Okay, so we'll ask those questions and hopefully we'll have the answers ready for the next meeting of this committee. Okay, the next one is the cardiac risk for the young, who are also asking for £5,000 to contribute towards the screening of 100 young persons between 14 and 35 in relation to identifying heart-related issues. Now, this has come before us before, and we asked a couple of questions via Diane, and one of the ones I remember raising was, had they, because this covers Gower, had they applied to other community councils within the Gower area for some sort of funding? And the answer was no, they haven't.
Does it say Gower on it, Jess?
Yes, it's the Gower division.
No, that's the St John's ambulance that's Gower division.
Oh, sorry. But there are people in the Pennard ward, which obviously doesn't come under us because people play for South Gower Rugby and things like that. So
This was mainly to do, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
to do with the start project date and the constitution and that type of thing.
right,
And there was an email she sent back to me saying they're not sure if the charity have a constitution. And basically they can't give us a project and start and end date until they have the funds in place. She's got a quiz night in progress and a raffle in the next coming months. And the end date very much depends on whether or not we can have a grant towards it. So that's basically it.
I know she's very active
Yeah.
and fundraises a lot of money on her own. She was doing stuff over Christmas as well. I know that a letter has been sent in to her from the charity saying that every single penny will be spent on the day in Newton. They have standard a range of tests as they go in, and there's a person there with all of those tests, a nurse or whatever doing
That's a
those.
letter Pam just.
And if they pick up something on that, they've got to go for a higher test, and there is a personnel there, and there is a consultant there all day looking at all these tests. And he picked up on families, like one brother in the family was fine, the other wasn't, and he actually said to one parent, "Take that child to A&E now." So they're doing a grand job. Every single penny, nothing goes back to like the lifeboat, nothing goes back to a lifeboat in God knows where. Every penny is being spent on that day. I know that one query is coming up in that we don't have a policy among us community on charities.
yeah,
But I don't think we should penalise anybody who comes before us, because in the last 6 months, we haven't got our act together to get a policy committee together to discuss this.
did we have a policy meeting?
Not to discuss this. We did have
Right.
a policy meeting for other things, but not.
Right, not because
And
it
that was 2 or 3 months ago. We
Yeah.
said we must have a policy meeting for charities. We still haven't done. So I don't think we can penalise anybody who comes before us
okay.
because we have our act together.
How about this for so we don't knock this out of the window? I'll be with you now, Carrie. I'm just going to say this one thing. Rather than kick it into touch, how about we have a policy meeting to discuss national grants, national.
And we're going to get
Just tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
yes, okay, but she said they can't, you've got to book these guys. I'm not going to tell you what I've been told. You've got to book these guys up to a year in advance. She can't book them because she hasn't got enough money. So she's going to lose it if she hasn't got the money to put it forward. So I don't see why we shouldn't give it to her this time. She's a big fundraiser on her own. She's raising thousands by herself. She's asked for 5,000. Every single penny will be spent on the day in Newton Hall. And it's for people. The fact that it's for young men, I think, is very good as well, because we rarely target young men between the ages of 35. And targeting that group just for once, I'm really pleased that we're doing that, because we don't target young men as we target old people, young people generally. But I don't see anything wrong with targeting young men for once.
Okay, I'll bring Carrie in.
Yeah, I just think this was a decision by full council that we would put a policy together to address grant applications from national charities. So I don't think it's for us to then go against the decision of full council. I agree that this is something, and we perhaps need to speak to Kerry and ask if she could prioritise drafting a policy. And perhaps we can get get a policy together to actually look at then at next finance committee in February, and
Well-
then assuming that it meets with what is agreed on the policy, then we can make a decision at that point. But we can't just decide to do something against what's already been agreed at full council.
Well, one, we can't take it, sorry.
Bring Martin.
I just want to clarify something here as well. Did you say that they haven't got a constitution?
Sounds like it.
Maybe they haven't got a constitution as well. It's,
The British Heart Foundation hasn't got a constitution.
no, the British Heart Foundation will have a constitution, but this charity, this group hasn't got a constitution, so, we're going to be in. I seem to remember that's in our rules, isn't it, that
Yeah.
they've got the constitution. So again, I would suggest that we go back to them. The point that you're making there, if she's doing a lot of fundraising herself, say, look, again, try and be positive about this and say, look, we could be interested in funding this, but one, you need to put some funding up yourself. And also you need to have a constitution because, as I said, I'm pretty sure, well, I know it's in our rules that we can't fund organisations without a constitution.
But they did a recognised charity, why wouldn't they have a constitution?
Well, maybe they haven't got
I think they were under
Well,
the,
they're part of a national charity, and that national charity will have a constitution, but it's still the fact that it's a national charity, and we have agreed that we need to have a policy because we need to make a decision as to how we address this and St John's Ambulance and all the other national charities who are likely to come knocking on our door. That was a decision that was made by full council, and we have to stick with it.
We don't have to stick with it. We can go back to full council, and with respect, you, Kerry, and I had a policy committee. It must be
Yeah.
all of 4 months ago. So the last 4 months we haven't got
No, it wasn't 4 months ago. It was just before Christmas.
Well, all right then, 2 or 3 months ago. But
A month ago.
Excuse me, it isn't their fault that we haven't got our act.
No, but it's no.
So is there anything else apart from the constitution that we need her to supply? Okay.
Well, we
so
need a
you would-
policy on, it's a national charity.
I believe that Kerry did seek advice from One Voice Wales about national charities. And I think the response that came back off the top of my head was, there's no reason why we can't,
Yeah.
There we are.
which is a good positive step in the right direction.
I
But
think it's
but we needed to have some sort of policy ourselves on it, which we don't, as you've just
And
said.
we haven't bothered to do it.
Yeah.
I think as Carrie said, let's go back to the emergency, have a word with Carrie about getting.
Well, we can organise a policy meeting for next week
Yeah.
Yeah,
to,
but we have to have a draft policy to discuss prior to having a meeting. We can't have a meeting if we don't have the draft policy to look at.
yeah, but we can do that at a meeting.
Not really.
Well,
It's not ideal.
There must be a generic policy we can just work out. of.
Yeah, exactly. We need to look at, have some sort of idea of what is needed to be included in a policy.
So as moving forward from this, Ian, if we can, if we can ask Kerry to maybe draft a policy, and we could have a meeting the week after next, which is still 2 weeks before our next finance meeting.
Yeah,
And we can go through the policy then, and then it can be applied to next year. Sorry.
Yeah.
See if there's
Hands are tied.
we are moving forward. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll move forward.
Yeah.
It's fair enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely fair enough.
Okay.
But let's put a boot under somebody's
Yeah. Okay.
There we are.
chassis.
Okay, St John's Ambulance Gower Division grant application. It's exactly the same, so
Yeah.
It's not, because they are include expenditure for training. Is that training people in members or training people work
well,
countrywide?
this is the one which is the Gower Division. So this
it's a
one,
national charity. It's the same thing. We should then be able to make a decision on both of them when we have the policy as to how we address national charities. So I would suggest we just defer this until we
Yeah.
have that policy in place.
Definitely.
Okay,
we've also had from the British Heart Foundation an email back saying to Diane from Sheila, who has said they'd be happy to give us a brief presentation about how the equipment would support the division's work, if that will help.
Are you on St John's now or are you on Cardiac?
This is the St John's.
Okay, okay.
So we can or we can't take them up for that. It's up to us if we think it's going to benefit, or if we just think, well, we don't really need to do that. I mean, again, because this is a Gower division of St John's and not Mumbles. And again, I'd asked Di to get in touch with them to find out if they'd applied to any other community councils, and they haven't. So I would suggest, really, maybe Di, if you're all in agreement with it, writing back to them and saying, look, you know, it's something we could possibly be interested in, but we can't fund it all because some of it is out of our area. Can you apply to other community councils as well? And maybe, you know, the percentage we give will be more towards their final than other community councils who don't have so much money, but at least they're helping out and contributing something which is a Gower-wide thing. If they say no, they say no.
Fair enough.
But they've got to try, is what I
Fair
think.
enough.
They
I'm
have,
sure Di will tell her that when she writes to her.
they have other avenues that they can explore as far as funding goes. You know, the chair's already mentioned the fact that they can councils in the area that they're dealing with.
Yes, yes.
He's already mentioned that, and that came back as a 0. So it smacks to me that they just think that, well, you know, we'll try Mumbles.
We've got a big precept.
So
They try Mumbles because
Yeah.
they've run it out of Newton Hall.
the other thing that they can do is that the city and county councillors, they can approach them to see if they're prepared to
In the
fund
different wards,
Well,
absolutely.
in Gower, they could ask Tonya Antonazzi if she's prepared to fund it. You know, it's so it doesn't have to just be
Maybe what we could do is write.
Mumbles community.
Sorry, I interrupted. But maybe what we could do when we write back to them, Di, is mention, approach your local city councillors, approach the MP, the MS as
She's
well.
been talking to Will about this.
Hmm?
She has had discussions
Tonya?
with, she's met, no, she has met with
Sorry.
the lady who was putting this,
Oh, right,
she's met with Francesca and Will and
right.
talked it through with them.
Hmm.
So they know exactly where she's coming from.
Yeah, brilliant.
Sorry, are we talking about St John's still, or are you going back to the cardiac risk?
I went back to the cardiac thing.
St. John's.
Hmm. Well, anyway, look, until we get more information, we're not kicking it into touch, we're just deferring it. Okay,
Excellent.
brilliant. Next one is the Mumbles Bowls Club grant application for £2,242 to contribute towards the maintenance of the playing surface at Mumbles Bowling Green. I remember last meeting, questions were asked as why they were asking for grant when they had,
Just giving them 10 grand.
well, they had 10 grand in their bank account.
No, just giving them another 10 grand via Francesca.
That's not for the maintenance of the green though.
Well, it's,
Well, why we went back to them, Rob is right, the reason we went back to them is because they had so much in their bank account.
yes,
And we thought, why are they asking for money when they've got
yes.
this? And what was their reply, Di? You've got an email from them, haven't you?
I've got lengthy emails, actually, one from,
Do you,
Of
did you
all
want
the
to
clubs, no doubt.
or
one from a Paul Thomas. The
That's
Mumbles-
Mumbles Croquet Club.
Yeah, yeah. And
read them out if it's easier? Oh, I'll put it there.
one from November, from Arthur, and one from January from.
Okay, so in November, this is from Nigel Richards. Hmm?
Huge.
2 pages. Right, so we need to discuss it, so right. The grant requested is exclusively to cover half of the cost imposed by CS, Parks Department, for maintaining the playing surface in Mumbles Bowling. This year, the charge was a total of £4,485.24. This has been paid in total by Mumbles and Oystermouth Bowls Club to CCS via Swansea Bowling Association. in the sum of 224,262 each, with a contribution of 640 from each club from Mumbles Croquet Club. This is because we now share the green on alternate weeks with Oystermouth Bowls Club, and Mumbles Croquet Club use the green every Sunday and Monday. So the charges are paid initially 50% each by both bowls, with 2/7 contributed by the Croquet Club. I would like to also add the Mumbles Bowls Club has undertaken a large part of the maintenance duties of the green, which is undertaken by Swansea Parks Department, would have cost us a further £1,500 per annum. This has been freely done by our members since 2016, now assisted by Oystermouth Bowls Club members. Since 2001, Mumbles Bowls Club been managing the green under licence from CCS and supervising all aspects of green management. In 2019, an agreement was made with the newly formed Mumbles Croquet Club to use the green exclusively every Sunday and Monday. In 2023, the newly formed Bowls Club joined us to play on the greens and share maintenance costs. It was mutually agreed last year that we'd make the application for grant funding from MCC for all 3 clubs rather than 3 separate applications being made. And any grant funding received would be distributed in the same proportions as the liability to pay costs, i.e. 50%, 50% and 2/7. I have no access to the financial affairs of the other 2 clubs. This was agreed by MCC a couple of years ago. We have continued to carefully monitor the performance of the Parks Department at Mumbles, and where there's been shortcomings and failures in their operations, we have sought refunds. In fact, we identified shortcomings in 2017, and after complaints, eventually received a refund of £536.80 from CCS, which was passed back in total to MCC in 2020. As you are aware, since at least 2014, negotiations have been ongoing concerning the lease of the green. This has now become a drawn-out asset transfer process, where we began the initial talks in which I have been personally involved. It was made clear that we as a club would not be needing to find substantial monies to match fund any initial repairs and renovations. And as treasurer, I set to put the club on sound financial footing. When CCS decided in 2016 to impose the cost of maintaining the greens on resident clubs, it became obvious that any improvements in our finances would be quickly dissipated by the costs. Then over 3,600 per annum, and support was sought from MCC to assist, which was gratefully offered and received. I will add that several bowling clubs were forced out of existence at this time by this policy. I feel sure that we would have gone the same way without MCC support. I've been involved with bowling at Mumbles for more than 40 years, and myself and my colleagues have devoted much time and effort into protecting the green as viable open space for the residents of Mumbles to enjoy. This will continue, and hopefully eventual improvements will make it even brighter and more valuable asset to the village. I trust that we'll once again look favourably on our application. Blah, 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 Arthur Hinton. So,
Is he still there?
well, he was in November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And the other one is a note from Mumbles Croquet Club,
we really need that.
which I don't know, which basically says the same thing as what he's saying.
Why have we been asked to pay for this? Why aren't they putting their fees up to people who play bowls?
They're charging £40 a year as it is.
That's less than a pound a week.
Well, that's exactly the point that they're making.
Yeah.
So if they're charging less than a pound a week, why can't they put it up to £52, which is just £1 a week, which is chicken's fee compared with,
Okay.
you go dancing is £7 a time.
Okay, so we're not just talking over each other. Carrie does have her hand up.
Yes. Yeah. The issue was that Mumbles Bowls Club have £10,000 sitting in their bank account. Now that is more than sufficient for their share of the maintenance of the green. I don't know what funds Oystermouth Bowls Club have, because I don't believe we've had that, but this is from Mumbles Croquet Club to say they only have £390 in their bank account. So therefore they are not in a position at the moment to pay the 1,200 and whatever for their share of the maintenance grant. So it seems that we have the difficulty here is that Mumbles Bowls Club clearly have more than sufficient money to pay their share of the green fees, but Mumbles Croquet Club and potentially Oystermouth Croquet Club don't have enough money to cover their share. So I think we have to sort of maybe look at saying, well, we will cover the costs of those clubs that have insufficient funds to cover the costs, but where they clearly have sufficient funds, as in Mumbles Bowls Club, that we would expect them to pay their share out of that surplus that they have in their account. Because we can't just not pay it and then leave two clubs with nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm reluctant to pay out for, you know, pay a grant for someone, for a club that clearly has more than sufficient money, and there's no evidence that they urgently need that £10,000 for anything else.
I think that sums it up quite well. I think really we need to look at this really as an application from the Bowls and Croquet Club.
You said 3 different clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Oystermouth as well. Oystermouth Bowls Club.
The 3 different clubs. And the point that they're making in this second letter is the Croquet Club haven't got enough money. So I don't know if there's any way that we can sort of approach them. I don't know, ask them to sort of come together as an amalgamation, because are they operated completely separately at the moment?
They do, and I gather relations between them are not great.
Yeah.
If the Croquet Club only use the site 2 days a week, and Bowls use the site 5 days a week.
So they're paying 2 sevens.
Yeah, that's why they only pay their proportion. I think, from what I remember, the Mumbles Bowls Club use it 3 or maybe 4 days a week. Oystermouth Bowls Club use it 1 or possibly 2 days a week. And I've had an extremely extended conversations with Paul Thomas about this, so I do know what it's all about. And the Croquet Club have 2 days, so it's split up between, it's divided into sevenths, and depending on how many days, each club pays that percentage of the green fees, which is fine. And I mean, they have no problem with that, but their problem is that they don't have, you know, money in the bank in the way that Mumbles Bowls Club does. Now, that we could go back to them and say, well, you've just got to put your fees up. That is a possibility, but you know, I'd say I feel that, you know, it's difficult because we don't know that why they've only got that amount of money and what have they spent it on. Maybe they just literally are dependent on those membership fees and nothing else, in which case it's obviously not going to bring them in enough money to cover their costs. So I don't quite know how we go about it, but I'm just concerned that we're being asked to pay money to a club that has already got a large amount of money in the bank. But what we don't want to do is disadvantage 2 other clubs who would be at risk of being kicked off the green if they can't afford to pay their share. So we do have to decide how we're going to kind of make sure that we encourage all 3 clubs to continue to be able to play, but we're not putting money into the account of someone who's got plenty of money in there already.
Okay, can I ask you a question, Carrie, because you know Paul Thomas. I mean,
I don't know him at all. I've just spoken to him on the phone.
But I mean, the ideal scenario I see would be for them all to come under one umbrella and pool their money together. But it sounds like the relations won't allow that to happen.
Sadly, I don't think at the moment anyway that is a realistic possibility. But, you know, we could just turn around to them and say, bang your heads together, sort yourselves out, then come back to us. But all I can think at the moment is we ask each club to put in an application for their share, and, you know, with their evidence of their current bank account details and where any additional funding comes from, and then we make a decision on each one. I don't see any other way in the current circumstances that we can be fair about this.
No, I mean, that sounds like a perfectly logical conclusion to come from me. Are we all in agreement with that, or does anybody want to say something else?
I think so. I would hate to see the croquet club go under.
Yes.
Exactly.
If only 2 or maybe 1 out of the 3 clubs needs financial help, we only give financial help to that one. We don't give lots of money to everybody.
Maybe again, we need to go back and, you know,
I think it's a good idea.
if Carrie sort of says that they can't work together, you know.
Then okay, then we have individual
But,
applications.
you know, it would be a lot better if they could get their act together.
Yeah.
It would, but I
You
mean,
know, it would be better for the future of the green and everything. But again, you've got to be pragmatic in these things, but you know.
Did you want to say something? Because
Yeah, well, personally speaking, I'm an advocate of being positive on the grant application. And it's something that we've supported for a good number of years. Perhaps if we hadn't supported it, they wouldn't have had the money that they have now. But the thing is that it is a valued amenity.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of things going on in the background with regards to the granting of monies for the pavilion. Pam is quite correct in saying that, yes, we did put money forward for additional surveys to be carried out on the pavilion. Well, it's a quandary, really, this business of one has got money and 2 don't have money. I think we have to try and encourage them to come together.
Yeah.
And maybe on this occasion, we could say, well, this will be the last time we'll do it as is. And we would, I haven't interrupted you. You know, we could do that. If you choose not to do that, well, you choose not to do it. You know, I've made my position perfectly clear.
I think it's clear we all wanted them to keep going, keep it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, the croquet club have requested that we consider individual applications. They would prefer that it is done that way. I mean, that's in the letter that they sent.
I mean, look, if we approach all 3 clubs and ask them to do separate applications, the one with 10 grand in the bank aren't going to go under anyway. There's no danger of them going under this year. So I think it would be a fair thing for them all to put in their individual applications, and then
Get them to think about it.
it might get them to think about it, but it means that we are supporting the people who really need it.
Yeah.
And we'll be saving those 2/3 of the users down there from going under. So that's what I'd like to recommend, is that we do that.
Yeah.
But another point is, if they're only paying £40 a year fees to play, that's less than £1 a week. And if you compare that with other clubs and people who do other activities, we're talking £2 or £3 a week to go and play tennis at paddle tennis up at West Cross is double that. So they could quite easily put their fees up to £50.
I will point out as well that Mumbles Bowls Club do not allow them.
Hang on, sorry, I was already speaking. I'll bring you in after. What I was just going to say is, with the croquet and the bowls, it is the older generation who play those sports more.
Tennis,
But the paddle tennis is people younger than me playing it.
West Cross, they're in the 70s.
It's a really popular sport. But also they can't use it, or they don't use it all year round because of the weather and light and stuff like that. So when you say it's only £1 a week, I average over the year, but it doesn't work out to that for the actual playing time.
Charging they then come asking us for money to back them up. We can't support it. Public money. Put it to the public. They're paying £40 a year, and then they're asking for thousands of pounds on public purse. I think there'd be a great hoo-ha.
So they're also taking their membership costs down so that more people can join and afford to use it. So carry on.
Just to add to it, that Mumbles Bowls Club do not allow Mumbles Croquet Club or Oystermouth Bowls Club any access to their clubhouse.
What?
So they have,
So where do they keep their stuff? Where do they
that
keep their...
that is an issue they have that they're hoping when the pavilion is refurbished will be resolved.
They'll forget it, forget it.
So I said about, relationships are
5
not good.
years ago, we had complaints that from the person who was gardening there at the time, so it happened. Some disabled people went in to ask for the disabled stuff and they were told to go away again. And some holiday makers went there to ask if they could play bowls and they were left outside for so long, they just went away. So if they're not even allowing the other clubs to go inside the club, but I that's unsupportable.
Right, well,
I don't see why we should give money to them to build a new pavilion if they're not even going to allow everybody using that pitch to go in there and have a part of the pavilion. There are lots of issues coming up here.
there are, but I think, the way around it, and to be fair to all 3 clubs who use it, is for them to put in their separate applications. So can we take a vote on that? We
So
are,
what
thank
are
you.
we voting for? That we,
Separate applications from the
Yeah.
3 different clubs.
yeah,
That's third each, is that right?
No. The portions remain the same that they.
Can you put the separate applications in and then we consider the applications?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, and the last one is the grant application for £3,350 contribute towards the Beach Sculpture Festival 2025 and pre-festival children's workshops providing healthy mind and healthy body activities as Sculpture by the Sea. So anybody want to speak in favour of this?
We give the money every year, and every year they are chock-a-block with people go, with children going there to do the activities. I think it's worth every penny.
Does anybody want to speak against it? Let's go straight to the vote. All those in favour? This is the end of the agenda. So thank you, everybody. And stay warm, everybody.
I'll stop recording.
Yes, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Harry.
You don't have what?
We don't get a heating allowance.
Oh, yeah.
Well.